before anxiety has a chance to whisper its lies, and fear has a moment to set the rhythm of your morning, God's message is already waiting, standing at the door of your waking soul, ready to speak peace. There is a sacred stillness in these first few breaths after waking, before the screen glows, before the noise rises, before your mind races toward all that feels unfinished. This stillness is not empty, it is inhabited by divine presence. In this silence, God does not demand performance, He offers covering. Psalm 91 declares, "He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty." That secret place doesn't require perfection to enter, it only requires presence. You don't need the perfect words, you don't need to feel strong. You just need to come, just as you are. The pressure you feel to start strong or feel spiritual is not from God. His presence is not a reward for your composure. It is the foundation for your peace. What God offers this morning is not pressure. It's presence right now, in this breath. He covers you. You are already covered before you even begin. That's the difference between divine power and human striving. Divine power doesn't wait for strength to appear. It shows up precisely when you feel most unable. This is not motivation, this is revelation. Isaiah 41:10 reminds you, "Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God." God doesn't wait for the chaos to settle before He draws near. He meets you inside it. And His nearness is not earned, it is gifted. Sometimes we think we need to achieve calm before we pray, but Jesus says, "Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." That's not a future promise, that's a present invitation. He doesn't say, "Come to me after your morning routine," or "once your thoughts are in order." He invites us, as we are, messy, rushed, even anxious. Morning prayer isn't a task to complete, it's a relationship to return to. You are not walking into this day alone. You are stepping into it with the one who commands the morning and quiets the storm. Even if your heart is still racing, this moment of prayer is not wasted. Sometimes, divine power arrives not in a loud miracle, but in a quiet knowing that you are held even when you don't feel it. Meditation, when rooted in God's message, isn't about escaping thought. It's about returning to truth. It's the moment when your breath slows and you remember that it's not your job to hold everything together. It never was. That's God's promise. "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." As Pope Leo XIV once wrote, "The heart that surrenders before it stands will be steadier than armies that never kneel." So kneel now, not in ritual, but in relief. Let go of the weight, let go of the rush. Let this breath be your altar. Pause, breathe. Let the light creeping through your window remind you that the same God who lit the heavens has already lit your path. Not a path of perfection, but of presence. You don't have to feel ready, you just have to be here. You are not your to-do list. You are not yesterday's failures. You are not tomorrow's what-ifs. You are God's beloved, awake and covered under the shelter of His wings. He will cover you with His feathers, and under His wings you will find refuge. Psalm 91:4. This isn't a metaphor, it's a promise. This morning you are safe before you are strong. You are covered before you are courageous. You are loved before you are productive. So let this be the first truth your heart receives. I am not my own strength. I rest in divine power. What would shift if you truly believed you were covered before you performed? Can you trust that God's message today is gentler than your own expectations? Are you willing to let go of the fear that tries to wake before your faith? He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. Psalm 91:1. Do not fear, for I am with you. Isaiah 41:10. My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Romans 2 Corinthians 12:9. If this morning prayer quieted your heart, Share it with someone who woke up with fear. Your peace could be the path that leads them back to God's message today. Even after prayer, there are mornings when fear feels louder than faith, and silence weighs more than serenity. You sit on the edge of the bed, and before your feet touch the floor, your heart already carries the weight of imagined failures. It's like anxiety scheduled a meeting before grace had its say. You wonder, why am I tired before the day has even begun? But this isn't laziness or lack of faith. It's the honest ache of a soul reaching for strength it cannot yet feel. And that is exactly where Jesus meets you. Not in momentum, but in pause. Not in triumph, but in trembling. The voice of heaven never says, "Prove yourself." It says, "Come closer." Matthew 11:28 still echoes, "Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." The rest he offers isn't about stopping everything. It's about knowing you are not doing any of it alone. This is not weakness. It's the space where divine power begins to whisper, "You don't have to do this alone. I am already here." Fear doesn't always shout. Sometimes it hides behind overplanning, perfectionism, and our frantic need to control the uncontrollable. But God's message is not based on your performance. It is rooted in His presence. Before the world demands anything from you, God simply offers Himself. He does not wait for confidence or clarity. He steps into your hesitation, into your questions, into the rawness of your morning. He carries not just your soul, but your schedule, your deadlines, your doubts. Lisa Bevere reminds us, God is not asking you to fake strength. He is asking you to be honest enough to let Him carry you. Your honesty is your offering, and in that sacred space of surrender, divine power starts to work. When you feel like you're not enough, remember, Jesus did not call the flawless. He called the faithful. He did not wait for perfection. He looked for presence. You don't need a perfect plan. You need a willing heart. And willingness comes not from certainty, but from trust. So take a deep breath. Let your soul say, "God, I am here. Not ready, not polished, just present." Psalm 23 says, "The Lord is my shepherd. I lack nothing." This is not poetic comfort. It's spiritual truth. Even when you feel unqualified, you are not lacking anything essential. He has gone before you. The meeting you fear, the email on your mind, the moment you dread, it's all within His covering. Divine power is not a far-off force. It's the near voice that whispers, "Peace, I've got you." It doesn't erase the demands of the day, but it changes how you face them. Not frantically, but faithfully. Not anxiously, but anchored. You are not your checklist. You are not your stress. You are not yesterday's weight or tomorrow's pressure. You are God's beloved, covered in a grace that meets you right where you are. It's the power of presence. Not that everything is fixed, but that you are no longer facing it alone. Let this moment of meditation become your altar. Not a place of performance, but of peace. Release the need to be everything for everyone. Let God be everything for you. You don't need to have it all together. You just need to be willing to let go. Divine power doesn't always part seas. It often parts fear. It steadies your hands, anchors your spirit, and reminds you that His grace is sufficient. As you begin your day, carry these questions with you. What am I trying to control that God is asking me to release? Am I showing up in God's presence with my truth or with a performance? How would my day shift if I truly believed I lack nothing in Him? Let these truths ground you. Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28. The Lord is my shepherd. I lack nothing. Psalm 23:1. Do not fear, for I am with you. Verse 41:10. If this quiet moment steadied your heart, share it with someone who feels overwhelmed before their day even begins. Let the peace of God pass through you and become a path back to His presence for someone else. Sometimes, the pressure to start the day strong becomes its own kind of spiritual fatigue. You wake up and already feel behind. Behind on the tasks, the healing, the transformation you think God is still waiting on. But that is not the voice of heaven. God is not pacing above you with a checklist. He's not evaluating your progress. He's whispering, "Come as you are. Start here, with me. I will carry what you cannot." The very idea that you must be spiritually ready before entering into morning prayer is a deception. In fact, the more unready you feel, the more sacred this moment becomes. It's not in strength that divine power often shows up, but in surrender. Not in control, but in communion. Peace doesn't come after the storm, it comes before it, if you allow it. Jesus didn't wait for his followers to have clarity. He was their clarity. Today, even in your uncertainty, he remains the same. God's presence does not require your perfection. It only requires your permission. Meditation, in this sacred light, is not about emptying your mind. It's about allowing God to fill the places where your energy runs dry. It's not about silencing everything. It's about recentering your soul around truth. Meditation is where anxious thoughts meet divine assurance. Psalm 23 isn't a checklist for a productive life. It's a map for a peaceful one. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. This restoration isn't earned through hustle. It's received through stillness. And you don't become useful to God by striving. You become open to Him by surrendering. Divine power isn't an adrenaline rush. It's the deep confidence that rises when you trust that God is your source, not your schedule. Heaven is not waiting for your next move. Heaven is moving already, in your stillness. As Pope Leo V once wrote, "It is in the silence of our souls that heaven first becomes audible." So stop measuring your progress by how fast you moved this morning. Instead, measure it by how deeply you're willing to trust. Trust that your restlessness is not failure. It's your soul reaching for alignment with your Creator. And that longing is not weakness, it's worship. Jesus himself often withdrew before he acted. He paused before he preached. He prayed before he performed. And so should you. Morning prayer is not a break from real life. It is the beginning of life rooted in divine presence. Divine power flows where human striving stops. God's message is not hurry up and fix it. It is be still and know that I am God. That knowing becomes your foundation. It becomes your quiet courage in a loud world. It becomes the steady place where you remember who you are, not because of what you do, but because of who He is. Let these reflection questions center your day. What am I trying to earn that God is already offering freely? Where can I choose stillness today instead of striving? Am I measuring my value by productivity or by presence? He restores my soul. Psalm 23:3. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. The Lord is my shepherd, I lack nothing. Psalm 23:1. If this quiet word reminded you that God moves in stillness, not just strength, share it with someone who feels crushed by the weight of performance. Let them know divine power has never been about how fast you move. It's about who holds you when you stop. There are mornings when silence is not peaceful, but haunting. When you wake not to hope, but to the ache of unresolved pain. The world outside may be still, but inside your soul, there's a quiet war, one of grief, confusion, and compassion. Even as you reach for morning prayer, your heart wonders, does God see all this? You're not just holding your own weight. You're holding the ache of a world that didn't wake up to comfort. You think of the innocent, the displaced, the grieving, and something deep within you aches for a God who doesn't just comfort, but restores. The sacred stillness of this moment becomes intercession. God's message isn't limited to your address. It crosses borders, shelters the brokenhearted, and weeps with those who weep. I see, I care, I am near. That is the holy whisper of divine power. Morning prayer isn't just for personal peace. It's a widening of the soul, moment where your faith becomes a bridge and your stillness becomes sanctuary for a suffering world. So let us pause, not with perfect words, but with surrendered hearts. Lord, we lift to you those waking up in fear, in displacement, in grief. Shelter the innocent, heal the wounded, wrap the forgotten in mercy. You are not the God of sides, but the God of restoration. Move where pain is loud, where peace has been silenced. Let your divine power walk through war zones, through hopeless places, and let morning rise in mourning heart. Amen. Breathe now, not just for yourself, but for someone who can't breathe safely today. Let your inhale be a prayer, and your exhale be a release of compassion. This is not just a devotional moment. It's a sacred resistance against despair, a quiet protest against indifference, a declaration that even here, even now, love reigns. Psalm 91 says, "He will command his angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways." That promise is for you and for every soul huddled in fear. Isaiah 41:10 declares, "Do not fear, for I am with you." And that "you" extends to the brokenhearted in every corner of creation. Divine power does not stand aloof. It draws near. It does not require applause. It requires surrender. Meditation today becomes more than stillness. It becomes compassion. Not the soft kind, but the kind that stands in the gap, that carries peace, not as privilege, but as prayer. You do not sit in comfort. You sit in connection. To a suffering world, to a healing God, let this morning shift your perspective. You are not just waking for yourself. You are waking as a vessel of hope, of stillness, of divine power. That is the invitation of Jesus, to feel, to carry, to intercede. Dr. Anita Phillips reminds us, grief is holy when brought to God, and healing begins when we dare to hold space for pain without demanding resolution. This morning, you are holding that space, and heaven holds you in return. Let your heart hold these reflections. What if my morning prayer is the comfort someone else doesn't yet know how to ask for? Can I carry the peace of God not only for myself, but for the brokenhearted? How can I intercede today with love instead of judgment? He will command his angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways. Psalm 91:11. Do not fear, for I am with you. Isaiah 41:10. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Matthew 5:9. If this morning prayer helped you carry the heart of God for both your life and the world, share it. Let your voice become a light. Let your quiet faith ripple into places that feel unseen. Love travels further than fear. Let it move through you today. Not every morning begins with clarity. Some begin with fog, the kind that clouds your mind and quiets your spirit. You rise, not with momentum, but with motion. You go through the steps, make the bed, wash your face, scroll through notifications, but inside, there's a fatigue that has nothing to do with sleep. It's a numbness of the soul, a heaviness without a name. And still, God is near, not waiting for you to be joyful, not measuring your pace, simply present, watching, covering, holding. This is where Jesus does his quietest work, not in the hype, but in the hollow, not when you're singing, but when you're silent. He says, "Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." Matthew 11:28. That isn't poetic metaphor, it's a lifeline, a promise, not for the inspired, but for the barely holding on, for the soul that whispers, "I don't feel much today," and still chooses to show up. Divine power doesn't require sparkle. It moves in shadows. This is why morning prayer is sacred, not because you always feel spiritual, but because you come anyway. When your emotions are tangled, when your thoughts are scattered, when your heart is weary, your willingness becomes worship. The world teaches performance, but God honors presence. Meditation isn't about achieving mental clarity. It's about letting go, letting your striving rest, and allowing grace to do what hustle never could. You don't need to be composed, you just need to breathe. Psalm 91 promises he will cover you with his fetters, and under his wings you will find refuge. That refuge isn't earned, it's available for the tired, the silent, the unsure. This morning, your numbness is not your disqualification, it is your doorway. Pope Leo XIV said faith is not the absence of uncertainty, It is the resting place we choose when the way is unclear. So rest even in your restlessness. Jesus himself often woke before the sun, not to race, but to retreat. He withdrew to stillness before stepping into noise. He chose solitude over spotlight. That rhythm wasn't a pause in his ministry, it was the power behind it. And so it is with you. You don't need to start your day with motivation. You need to start it with mercy. Morning prayer is not a performance, it is presence. Each breath you take becomes surrender. Each moment of quiet becomes soil for trust to grow. Psalm 23 says, "Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me." This isn't a verse to recite out of habit. It's a truth to hold on to when everything else feels slippery. God is with you, not just when you're strong, but especially when you're not. That's the miracle. Not that you rise with fire, but that you rise at all and find Him already there. Let these heart-opening reflections guide your soul. Where am I waiting for energy when God is waiting for honesty? Can I believe that silence is sacred, not shameful? What would shift in me if I let God meet me in emptiness instead of avoiding it? He will cover you with His feathers, and under His wings you will find refuge. Psalm 91:4. Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Psalm 23:4. If this morning prayer gave words to your weariness and space to your silence, share it. Someone else might be numbing their soul just to get through the day. Let them know Jesus meets us most deeply when we feel least available. And in that meeting, silence becomes sacred. There is a sacred truth that many miss in their rush to be strong. Weakness is not a disqualification, it is an invitation. The heaviness you feel this morning, the weariness that won't lift, the quiet doubt that lingers, all of it is ground for divine power to flourish. You may whisper, "I should be stronger by now," or "Why am I still struggling?" But God's message today is simple and radical. My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. 2 Corinthians 12:9. Not in your conquest of the day, but in the quiet courage it takes to simply begin. You are not failing, you are being held. Jesus is not waiting at the finish line. He is kneeling beside you, right here in the pause. Morning prayer becomes holy not because you bring strength to it, but because you bring your truth. You say, "God, I don't know how to do today," and heaven replies, "That's okay, I do." There's a lie that divine power is reserved for the strong, but look at how God writes his story. David with trembling hands, Moses with hesitant speech, Mary with misunderstood beginnings, Peter with a broken promise, Jesus with a cross of surrender. Weakness isn't where God avoids you, it's where He abides. Lisa Bevere said, "Your weakness may be the very weapon God uses to silence the enemy, not because the weakness itself is power, but because it opens the door to surrender. That surrender is sacred." Meditation this morning isn't about feeling brave, it's about being honest. Psalm 91 promises more than protection, it promises presence. He will rescue you from the fowler's snare. His faithfulness will be your shield and rampart. That faithfulness doesn't falter when you're low. It rises to meet you. You are not a burden. You are beloved. And God never turns away from need. He draws near. He stays. Morning prayer is where your limitations are transformed, not into liabilities, but into launching points. Where self-sufficiency gives way to holy dependency, where the question shifts from "what if I fail?" to "what if God holds me through it all?" T.D. Jakes said, "You don't have to feel strong to stand up. You just need to know you're not standing alone. So stand slowly if you must, cry if you need to, whisper if your voice shakes, but do not believe for one moment that your weakness disqualifies you. It is divine ground. Let grace lift what grit cannot. This day does not depend on your strength. It rises on mercy. And mercy, beloved, is not earned, it is given. It is fresh. It is yours. Right now. Let these reflection questions guide your stillness. Am I trying to hide weakness God wants to use? Where am I pretending when I could be praying? How might today change if I trusted divine power more than personal energy? My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. 2 Corinthians 12:9. His faithfulness will be your shield and rampart. Psalm 91:4. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life. Psalm 23:6. If this morning prayer reminded you that your weakness is sacred ground, share it with someone who feels like they've failed before the day even began. Let them know God isn't asking them to be strong. He's already offering to be their strength. There's a quiet ache that settles in when you feel like life has already passed you by. You wake not just behind on tasks or timelines, but behind on your soul's becoming. Behind on healing, on joy, on the version of yourself you hoped to be by now. Regret whispers you should have more to show. Shame follows with others are ahead, you've missed it. But into this fog of doubt and self-comparison, God speaks not condemnation, but his message is steady and unchanging. You are not late, you are loved. Psalm 23 doesn't demand speed. It offers stillness. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. Restoration doesn't come through rushing. It comes through returning. And this morning, before the world's noise climbs into your thoughts, morning prayer becomes your place of realignment. You are not where you hoped to be, but you are exactly where grace knows how to find you. Jesus never rushed people into purpose. He didn't recruit the most efficient, the most polished, or the most qualified. He chose the slow, the skeptical, the forgotten. Because divine power doesn't operate on performance, it flows through presence. Lisa Bevere says, "You are not behind, you are being prepared." What you call delay, God may be calling deep work. What feels like wandering may be the way. Meditation this morning becomes the act of surrender, not to a schedule, but to the Spirit. It's not about speeding up your journey. It's about slowing down enough to remember who's leading it. Psalm 91 says, "He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty." The invitation is to dwell, not to hustle, to abide, not to achieve. Divine power walks, it doesn't race, and you are not asked to catch up, you're simply asked to come close. Let this be the morning where the voice of accusation is silenced by the whisper of truth. You haven't missed it, you're in it. Pope Leo Cansors wrote, "The will of God is never rushed, and yet it is never late." Let that be the rhythm you follow today, not the ticking of deadlines, but the beat of divine patience. Morning prayer isn't a reset button for your productivity. It's a reawakening to your purpose. You don't have to strive for what God is already giving. You don't have to chase what's already yours. You are not forgotten. You are being formed. And in that forming, nothing is wasted, not even the wait. Trust that the pace of grace is perfect, even when it feels slow. Let your presence this morning be louder than your pressure. Pause and reflect. Where am I believing I've missed God's timing when He's really just asking me to trust? What would my morning look like if I started from rest, not regret? Can I let go of the belief that I am late and embrace the truth that I am loved? He restores my soul. Psalm 23:3. You are not behind. You are being prepared. Isaiah 55:9, paraphrased. He who dwells in the secret place shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. Psalm 91:1. If this morning prayer lifted the pressure of timelines and reminded you that grace is always on time, send it to someone who feels behind. Let them know God's message today isn't hurry up, it's you're home. There are mornings when giving up doesn't feel like failure. It feels like mercy. When your soul is so weary it confuses surrender with escape. Maybe that's where you are today, not just tired in body but in belief. Not just fatigued, but fragile. There's a sigh behind your smile, a silence behind your schedule, and yet you showed up. You pressed play. You reached for prayer. That isn't weakness, it's holy courage. That's faith in its rawest form. The seed of hope breaking through the soil of sorrow. God sees it. And He's not asking you to rise with strength. He's offering to hold you with grace. His message today isn't try harder. It's let me carry you. You don't have to be energized to be embraced. You don't have to be loud to be heard. Divine power is not reserved for the ready. It is revealed in the surrendered. When you say, God, I don't have it today, heaven answers, that's okay. I do. This is where morning prayer becomes more than habit. It becomes a lifeline, not to escape life, but to remember you're not alone in it. Meditation in this moment is not a practice. It's a plea, a breath that says, Jesus, hold me. Matthew 11:28 doesn't call the motivated, it calls the weary. Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. That rest is not passive, it is power, it is divine replenishment for the places that feel completely empty. Dr. Anita Phillips reminds us, rest is not weak, it is holy rebellion against a world that demands your constant output. This morning, your worth is not in what you produce, it's in who you are, a beloved child of God. Even lying on the floor of your faith, Psalm 91 still welcomes you. He who dwells in the secret place shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. Dwelling doesn't require energy, it just asks for permission. Let God into the space where you want to disappear. Let Him speak peace into your panic and purpose into your pause. The weight you carry is real, but so is the God who promises to carry you. Divine power doesn't always come with fire. Sometimes it comes with a whisper. You're safe to fall apart here, and in that safety, resurrection begins. Not the kind that storms the gates, but the kind that holds the hand, the kind that stays. Morning prayer is not about performance, it's about presence. It's the altar where resignation becomes resurrection, where giving up on yourself becomes giving in to grace. D.D. Jakes said, sometimes the greatest act of faith is to simply keep showing up. And beloved, you did. You're here. That is not small. It is sacred. God isn't disappointed in your tiredness. He's drawing near to it. The miracle today is not that you pushed through, it's that you surrendered and found that even in your emptiness you are fully held. Let these soul-honest questions hold you in this moment. What if my urge to give up is actually my soul asking for rest, not retreat? Can I allow God's message to interrupt my self-condemnation? How would my life change if I believed that surrender is not weakness but worship? Come to me, all who are weary, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28.8. He who dwells in the secret place shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. Psalm 91:1. My grace is sufficient for you. 2 Corinthians 12:9. If this morning prayer steadied your resolve when quitting seemed easier, share it. Someone else woke up ready to walk away from their purpose. Let your honesty lead them back to hope. Let divine power carry more than just you today. There's a unique kind of pain that visits the soul in the early hours, a heaviness that settles before the sun rises, when the house is quiet but the mind is loud. It's the ache of the sleepless, the ones who prayed last night and still woke up tired, the ones who carried their questions into sleep and found no answers in their dreams. And now morning is here, but it doesn't feel like a fresh start. It feels like a continuation of everything unresolved. If that's you, this morning prayer is for you. God's message today is not push through. It's I'm already here. He does not rebuke your exhaustion. He embraces it. Psalm 91 promises, He will cover you with His feathers, and under His wings you will find refuge. That covering is for the sleepless, for the burdened, for the ones who need healing before they can even think about hope. Divine power isn't delayed because you feel fragile. It is activated in your very vulnerability. You don't need a plan, you need presence. You need peace that wraps around you like a blanket when the cold of worry won't lift. There is something sacred about morning prayer after a sleepless night. You're not showing up because you feel spiritual. You're showing up because you're desperate. And that desperation is not shameful, it is holy. Jesus said, "Come to me, all who are weary and burdened," not just those who are energized and enthusiastic. Sometimes the most powerful prayer is the one whispered through tears, when your body aches from stress and your spirit aches from silence. But silence is not absence. It is the space where God often does his deepest work. Dr. Anita Phillips reminds us that our emotional honesty in the presence of God is not weakness, it's worship. Meditation in this fragile state is not a performance. It is a permission, a letting go of the need to make sense of everything, a surrender of the night's unanswered questions to the God who never sleeps. Psalm 23 doesn't say he watches us once we're rested. It says he makes me lie down. He restores my soul. That restoration begins right here, in this moment. Whether or not you got 8 hours of sleep, you don't have to pretend today. You don't have to rise with force. You only need to rise with faith. Just enough faith to whisper, "Lord, be near." That's enough. Divine power does not wait for clarity. It fills the cracks of confusion. And today, God's message is not about conquering. It's about calming, about walking beside you, not dragging you forward. Peace isn't the absence of trouble. It's the presence of God in the middle of it. That presence is yours now, in your room, in your breath, in the quiet that feels too loud. You are not alone. You are not abandoned. You are not behind. You are beloved, and divine power covers even the parts of your life you've stopped talking about. Let these questions anchor you gently. What if my sleeplessness is a call to deeper surrender, not failure of faith? Can I give myself permission to receive God's presence without needing to perform? How can I carry today with grace instead of guilt? He gives his beloved sleep. Psalm 127:2. He will cover you with his feathers, and under his wings you will find refuge. Psalm 91, verse 4. He restores my soul. Psalm 23:3. If this morning prayer spoke to the quiet exhaustion behind your eyes, send it to someone who also woke up sleepless and unsure. Let them know that divine power begins where human rest ends, and God's arms are still open. There's a comforting illusion many chase each morning, the idea that if they can just organize everything perfectly, they will finally feel safe. The calendar, the to-do list, the emails. If all of it aligns, maybe peace will follow. But here's the truth that morning prayer reveals. External control cannot produce internal calm. It's not your schedule that secures you. It's your shepherd. Psalm 91 opens not with a plan, but with a person. He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. That's not about strategy, it's about sanctuary. Today, God's message isn't do more, it's come closer. Divine power doesn't flow from managing outcomes. It flows from being covered. You are not the source of your own safety. You are not the architect of your soul's peace. You are the beloved of the God who is already watching over everything you're worried about. That shift from control to communion is what transforms anxiety into assurance. Some mornings, the demands start early. Texts, children, deadlines, expectations. And without even realizing it, you've moved from sleep to stress in under 5 minutes. But here's the sacred invitation. Before you organize your day, dwell in his presence. Meditation becomes the recalibration of your spirit, not because you need to escape reality, but because you need to enter it aligned with truth. As Lisa Beer says, peace isn't passive. It's a powerful stance against the chaos of the world. Meditation is your stance. It's where your spirit plants itself in the reality that God is not far off. He is intimately present. The shepherd of Psalm 23 doesn't just provide. He guides. He leads me beside still waters. You are not wandering, you are being led. Even when you can't see the map, the hand of God holds the way. So this morning, before the tasks define your worth, let your worth define your tasks. You are already enough, not because of what you'll accomplish, but because of whose presence you've entered. That presence is the power. It is the clarity, it is the calm. You don't need to hustle your way into divine favor. You are already favored. Pope Leo Capitulus once wrote, "To dwell in God's shadow is to live untouched by the tyranny of performance." Morning prayer is not about earning peace. It's about remembering it's already been given. This is the rhythm your heart was made for, not the rush of obligation, but the rest of obedience. And obedience begins in stillness. Stillness that says, God, you are in charge, not just of my morning, but of my meaning. Reflect on these questions with gentleness. Where am I trying to control what God has already promised to cover? Can I let go of the myth that peace comes from perfect plans? How can I dwell, not just visit, in the secret place today? He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High. Psalm 91:1. He leads me beside still waters. Psalm 23:2. The peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds. Philippians 4:7. If this morning prayer broke the spell of pressure and invited you into peace, share it with someone who begins their day already bracing for battle. Let them know they're not alone. Divine power doesn't arrive with the plan. It comes with the presence. Some mornings you wake up and feel like a stranger to your own life. The goals that once inspired you now feel distant. The passions you carried so deeply now flicker faintly beneath the surface. You wonder if you've lost something essential, or worse, if you've wasted too much time. But in this very space of uncertainty, Jesus whispers the most powerful invitation. Come to me. Not, come to me once you've found your purpose. Not, come to me once you're back to yourself. Just come. The divine power that sustains the universe is not looking for your polished version. It is drawn to your raw, unedited self. God's message today is not that you need to return to some previous level of faith or drive. It is that grace is already moving towards you. Psalm 23 says, "Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life." That includes today. Even if you don't feel inspired, motivated, or even hopeful, mercy is still following you, still chasing you, still covering you. Morning prayer in this emotional terrain becomes more than routine. It becomes revival. You're not here to rehearse who you used to be. You're here to remember who God has never stopped being. Faithful, steady, loving. Divine power isn't a recharge, it's a resurrection. It breathes life into what you thought was finished. It breathes dead dreams to life, dry hearts to hydration, and weary minds to clarity. Meditation becomes the space where the noise of who you're not fades, and the truth of who God is grows louder. Psalm 91 reminds us, He will cover you with His feathers, and under His wings you will find refuge. That refuge isn't earned through enthusiasm, it's access through honesty. Children don't need a plan to be protected, they just need proximity. So come close today, not with the right words, but with a willing heart. Let your silence become sanctuary. Let your vulnerability become the very space where intimacy with God is renewed. You haven't missed your moment. You haven't disqualified your calling. Divine power isn't seasonal, it's eternal. And it shows up in rooms filled with confusion just as boldly as in places of confidence. As T.D. Jakes once said, God doesn't need you to be ready, He needs you to be reachable. This morning, you are reachable. By pressing play, by whispering prayer without clarity, by choosing stillness over striving, you are answering the call. This is not regression, this is redirection. You're not going backward, you're being guided deeper. Pope Leo Ko30 writes, "Grace does not restore us to where we were, it always calls us further than we imagined." So don't spend today chasing the version of you that once was. Trust the version God is forming now. One shaped by grace, not guilt. One rooted in presence, not performance. Your healing is not behind you. It's unfolding right here in real time, beneath the surface of your surrender. What if the emptiness I feel is not abandonment, but invitation? Where can I stop performing and start receiving? Can I believe that divine power is here? Even when I feel uninspired, surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. Psalm 23:6. He will cover you with his feathers. You will find refuge. Psalm 91:4. My grace is sufficient for you. My Corinthians 12:9. If this morning prayer reminded you that inspiration is not a requirement for intimacy with God, send it to someone who feels emotionally far from their own faith. Let them know Jesus doesn't need them to be ready, just willing, and grace does the rest. There's a holy place where divine power begins, not in the spotlight of achievement, but in the quiet shadows of surrender. You may think you need to do more, be more, or prove something before you can step into God's presence, but that is not his message today. His invitation has never changed. Come and dwell. Psalm 91 begins here. He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. That secret place is not a location. It is a posture, a willingness to be still, to trust, to surrender your striving in exchange for sanctuary. Before you do anything today, before you respond, create, or hustle, he asks you to abide. And in that abiding, divine power is not just revealed, it is received. It becomes the breath behind your words, the strength behind your decisions, the stillness inside your storms. Morning prayer doesn't give you energy so you can conquer the day. It anchors you so you can carry it with peace. The world will try to pull you into visibility before you're grounded in identity. But God doesn't push, he covers. He says, let my voice be the loudest in your soul before you speak to anyone else. Meditation is the gateway to that covering, not emptying your mind, but filling it with truth. It is the soul's return to the place it was always meant to live, not in fear, not in doubt, but under the wings of divine love. Release of Bevere teaches that your hidden life with God is the root system that supports your visible life with others. If you ignore that root, you may bloom briefly, but you will not endure. So let your strength grow underground today. Let your spirit find depth before you ask for clarity. God's message is not one of speed, but of security. He doesn't need you to hurry. He wants you to hide, not from the world, but in him. You're not evading responsibility. You're anchoring in reliability, his. As you enter this day, remember this. Divine power begins in the secret place, not because God is hiding from you, but because he wants intimacy with you. He wants your unfiltered prayers, your quiet tears, your insensitive thoughts. He wants the version of you that doesn't have it all figured out. That's who he covers. That's who he empowers. That's who he walks with. You don't have to climb toward God. You simply need to dwell. Pope Leo Cateri once said, "The hidden life of the soul is the cathedral where heaven sings most clearly." Your quiet is not wasted, it's worship. Your stillness is not idleness, it's intimacy. The shadow of the Almighty is not a place of smallness, it's the posture of the protected. Am I seeking visibility more than intimacy with God? How can I dwell in the secret place today instead of rushing into action? What if my quiet time is the most powerful part of my day? Who dwells in the secret place shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. Psalm 91:1. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. The Lord is my shepherd, I lack nothing. Psalm 23:1. If this morning prayer recentered you in the secret place where divine power begins, share it with someone who feels like they need to perform their way into God's presence. Let them know dwelling is enough. And from that quiet place, everything flows. Some mornings carry the sting of regret more than the scent of possibility. You wake up already rehearsing what you didn't do yesterday, what you said wrong last week, or how far you still feel from where you want to be. There's a voice, quiet but cruel, that whispers you've wasted too much time. But God's message today disrupts that lie with relentless mercy. He says, this morning is not too late. You haven't missed your moment. Divine power does not expire with your mistakes. Grace does not follow the clock. You may feel like your life is trailing behind some invisible standard, but heaven is not in a rush. Psalm 23 declares, He leads me in paths of righteousness for His name's sake. Not for your performance, but for His promise. The path is still open. The shepherd is still guiding. And you are still chosen. This is not your end, it's your invitation. Morning prayer becomes your spiritual doorway back into time redeemed. Not erased, but restored. Not reset, but resurrected. Meditation is where your anxious mind lets go of the false timelines and opens to the eternal now of God's presence. It's not about getting back to where you think you should be, it's about realizing God never left you. Pope Leo Catechulis reminds us, God is the keeper of Kairos, holy time, and nothing surrendered to Him is ever wasted. Even your delays have purpose. Even your detours are held. Divine power flows in real time, not rewind. And that power meets you this morning, not to shame you into speed, but to anchor you in peace. What you thought was a delay may be divine protection. What you called failure may become the very soil where faith is grown. So pause, breathe, let go of the obsession with being on time. The author of your life is not stressed by your pace. He is sanctifying your path. Psalm 91 says He will cover you with His feathers, and under His wings you will find refuge. That covering is not conditional on your past performance. It's offered because of His eternal character. And that refuge is available right now, before you earn anything, prove anything, or fix anything. You are not being punished, you're being pursued. This moment is not your penance, it is your pivot. The Spirit of God is not looking backward, pointing out your errors. He is looking forward, calling you by name. And divine power is not a reward, it is a response. To every surrender, every breath, every whispered yes. Am I letting my past shape today's hope? Or God's promise? What false timelines have I been serving that God is asking me to release? How would I live this morning if I truly believed it's not too late? Leads me in paths of righteousness for His name's sake. Psalm 23:3. He will cover you with His feathers, and you will find refuge. Psalm 91:4. There is now no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. Romans 8:1. If this morning prayer reminded you that today is not too late for God to move, send it to someone drowning in the lie that they've missed their chance. Let them know redemption runs deeper than regret, and divine power still leads the way. There is a precise moment, often so brief we barely notice it, when anxiety tries to take the lead before peace has had a chance to speak. It's that flutter in the chest before your feet hit the floor, that surge of urgency before you've even formed a prayer. You may not call it fear. It might feel like responsibility, pressure, planning, but beneath it is the tremble of a soul that fears it must handle everything alone. Yet into this moment, God's message today breaks through gently but firmly. Peace, be still. I am here first. He was present before the problem. He was faithful before the fear. Psalm 91 doesn't say we earn God's covering. It says, He who dwells shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. That shadow reaches you before worry can. That shadow speaks before anxiety has a voice. Divine power doesn't wait for you to stabilize. It stabilizes you. Before your mind races toward worst-case scenarios, heaven speaks. You are not alone. Morning prayer is your return to the voice that truly matters. It's not an add-on to your day. It's a barrier against the chaos that wants to claim it. Meditation becomes your recalibration, not just silence for silence's sake, but silence filled with sacred reality. The reality that the world is not held up by your hands, that outcomes don't hinge on your insight, that grace runs deeper than your understanding. Dr. Anita Phillips reminds us, anxiety often speaks in a rush, but peace speaks in rhythm. This is the rhythm you're returning to now. One breath at a time, one verse at a time. Let Psalm 23 echo back into your being. Even though I walk through the valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. You don't have to manufacture courage. Presence is your power. The shepherd is already beside you. It's not that your day will be without challenges. It's that you will walk through those challenges with covering, and that covering shifts everything. You don't lead with fear. You follow the one who leads with love. Pope Leo XIV said, when fear knocks, faith doesn't shout, it simply stays. Staying rooted in God's message today will require attention, intention, but not effort, not striving, just surrender, just listening, just remembering that before the day demanded anything of you, your identity was already secure. That's the peace that precedes the pressure. That's the power that steadies your soul before your planner fills. Let it wash over you now, not as theory, but as truth. Where does anxiety usually sneak in first? And can I meet it with truth instead? What sacred rhythm is God inviting me to return to this morning? How would it feel to begin today with stillness, not strategy? Who dwells in the secret place shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. Psalm 91:1. I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Psalm 23:4. Peace I leave with you. Do not let your hearts be troubled. John 14:27. If this morning prayer helped you catch anxiety before it claimed your day, share it with someone whose soul is stirred before they've had a chance to breathe. Let them know God speaks first, and His peace always outlasts fear. Some days begin with an invisible weight, an inner script that whispers, "There's so much to prove." You feel it before breakfast, before you've spoken to anyone. It wraps around your mind like a silent taskmaster telling you today must be productive, polished, impressive. But morning prayer is where that script ends. Here, in this sacred pause, God offers a new narrative. You are covered by peace. Divine power does not demand, it delivers. It delivers assurance when you feel uncertain, compassion when you're being hard on yourself, and strength when your own resolve is thin. Psalm 91 isn't just a poetic comfort, it is a declaration of reality. His faithfulness will be your shield and rampart. Not your performance, not your perfection, His presence. You don't have to earn your right to exhale, simply have to remember that you are already held. Meditation becomes your refusal to enter the day under the tyranny of expectations. It is the sacred protest that says, I choose peace over pressure. Lisa Bevere teaches, rest is not the reward of the finished, it is the foundation of the faithful. This means you don't rest because the work is done, you rest because your God is near. And in that rest, divine power is activated. Morning prayer isn't where you figure everything out, it's where you lay everything down. Psalm 23 tells you exactly who leads. The Lord is my shepherd. Not your anxiety, not your ambition, the shepherd. And what does He lead you into? Still waters. Restoration. Goodness. That's your inheritance, not because you've earned it, but because you're His. The most radical thing you can do this morning is receive what's already been given. God's nearness is mercy, His guidance. You don't start from pressure, you begin from peace. Pope Leo XIII once wrote, peace is not the absence of tasks, but the presence of God within them. So even as your day unfolds, yes, with real responsibilities, real deadlines, real weight, your inner posture is not frantic, it is faithful. You are not striving for divine attention, you already have it. Divine power walks with you through the traffic jam, the meeting you email you dread writing, and it whispers all alone, you are not alone. You are not under pressure. You are under promise. That promise does not shift with your mood. It does not fade when you falter. It is rooted in eternal love, and it is available right now in this very breath. What pressure have I mistaken for purpose, and am I willing to release it? How can I choose peace before I choose productivity? What truth from God can anchor me deeper than my to-do list today? His faithfulness will be your shield and rampart. Psalm 91 verse 4. The Lord is my shepherd, I lack nothing. Psalm 23:1. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. John 14:27. If this morning prayer helped you trade pressure for peace, send it to someone who is walking into the day already feeling like they're behind. Let them know they're not behind. They're held, and in God's presence, that is more than enough. There's a subtle lie many of us wake up believing, that the burden is ours to bear, that the outcome depends on our strength, and that God is waiting for us to prove ourselves before He shows up. But this morning, hear the truth that dismantles that heaviness. You are not the answer. Jesus is. You don't have to be brilliant, bold, or bursting with energy. You just have to be honest. Divine power doesn't respond to perfection. It rushes towards surrender. Psalm 91 says, He will rescue you. He will cover you. You will not fear. These are not poetic hopes. They are promises spoken to people just like you. People waking up unsure, tired, and wondering if their best is ever enough. God's message today isn't asking for more effort. It's inviting you into deeper trust, and that trust becomes your anchor, your calm, your new way of living. You are not the savior of your situation, but you know the one who is. Morning prayer in its truest form is the recentering of your life around this foundational truth. Jesus is sufficient. Meditation is not self-rescue, it's sacred alignment. It's where you say, I'm not the solution, but I know who holds the answer. Dr. Anita Phillips teaches, healing begins the moment we give up being our own hero. That's what you're doing now. You're handing over the cape. You're letting your heart breathe beneath the weight of grace. You don't need to hold it all together today. That's not your calling. Your calling is to remain rooted in the vine, in the peace of Psalm 23, in the shadow of the Almighty. You are not made to manufacture fruit. You are called to abide. And from that abiding comes strength, vision, power, not yours, but His. Even Jesus, the Son of God, spent His mornings in solitude, not strategizing, but surrendering, not performing, but praying. That's your model. That's your invitation, to begin your day not as the solution, but as the beloved, as the one being held, as the one God is carrying. Pope Leo Katsarusa once said, the soul that no longer seeks to be the answer becomes a doorway for divine mercy. You, beloved, are that doorway, not because you're perfect, but because you're present. And in that presence, divine power flows. It flows through your weakness, through your tears, through your quiet faithfulness. This is not the day you prove yourself. This is the day you let yourself be carried. Where have I taken on pressure to fix what only God can redeem? Can I accept that I'm not the answer and let Jesus be enough? What would change if I lived today from a place of being carried, not controlling? Will rescue you. He will cover you. You will not fear. Psalm 91 through 3-5. My power is made perfect in weakness. Psalm 2 Corinthians 12:9. The Lord is my shepherd. I lack nothing. Psalm 23:1. If this morning prayer released you from the lie that you must be everything to everyone, share it with someone who is carrying too much. Let them know Jesus is the answer, and that truth is enough to carry us all. There's a subtle lie many of us wake up believing, that the burden is ours to bear, that the outcome depends on our strength, and that God is waiting for us to prove ourselves before He shows up. But this morning, hear the truth that dismantles that heaviness. You are not the answer. Jesus is. You don't have to be brilliant, bold, or bursting with energy. You just have to be honest. Divine power doesn't respond to perfection. It rushes towards surrender. Psalm 91 says, "He will rescue you. He will cover you. You will not fear." These are not poetic hopes. They are promises spoken to people just like you. People waking up unsure, tired, and wondering if their best is ever enough. God's message today isn't asking for more effort. It's inviting you into deeper trust, and that trust becomes your anchor, your calm, your new way of living. You are not the savior of your situation, but you know the one who is. Morning prayer, in its truest form, is the recentering of your life around this foundational truth. Jesus is sufficient. Meditation is not self-rescue, it's sacred alignment. It's where you say, "I'm not the solution, but I know who holds the answer." Dr. Anita Phillips teaches, healing begins the moment we give up being our own hero. That's what you're doing now. You're handing over the cape. You're letting your heart breathe beneath the weight of grace. You don't need to hold it all together today. That's not your calling. Your calling is to remain rooted in the vine, in the peace of Psalm 23, in the shadow of the Almighty. You are not made to manufacture fruit. You are called to abide. And from that abiding comes strength, vision, power, not yours but His. Even Jesus, the Son of God, spent His mornings in solitude, not strategizing but surrendering, not performing but praying. That's your model. That's your invitation. To begin your day not as the solution but as the beloved, as the one being held, as the one God is carrying. Pope Leo the Corset once said, "The soul that no longer seeks to be the answer becomes a doorway for divine mercy." You, beloved, are that door, not because you're perfect, but because you're present. And in that presence, divine power flows. It flows through your weakness, through your tears, through your quiet faithfulness. This is not the day you prove yourself. This is the day you let yourself be carried. There's a voice in our culture, and sometimes in our own hearts, that tells us rest is weakness, stillness is laziness, and slowing down is a sign of falling behind. But God's message today radically overturns that narrative. He whispers in the early quiet, rest is not rebellion, it is reverence. Morning prayer becomes your sacred defiance against the lie that your worth is tied to your output. Divine power is never rushed. It doesn't arrive when you cross a finish line. It meets you while you are seated, surrendered, listening. Psalm 23 does not begin with a checklist. It begins with an invitation. He makes me lie down in green pastures. Not asks, not suggests, makes. Because sometimes we are too caught up in the rhythm of proving ourselves to choose rest willingly. And so He, in His mercy, interrupts us with peace. That interruption is not inconvenience, it is intimacy. You are being drawn out of performance and into presence. Meditation becomes the holy rebellion against spiritual burnout. It's not for monks in silence, it's for you, in your kitchen, your car, your chaos. Lisa Bevere says, rest is not what we do when we're done, it's how we begin. This kind of rest is not about sleeping in or avoiding responsibility. It's about returning to the truth that your identity is rooted in God's love, not your success. Morning prayer anchors you before the world begins to pull. You enter your day from a place of abundance, not scarcity. From divine covering, not human pressure. From trust, not tension. Psalm 91 echoes this safety. He will cover you with His feathers, and under His wings you will find refuge. This isn't just a metaphor. It is the spiritual reality you are invited to live into. You do not have to hustle for heaven's attention. You already have it. So slow your breath. Let this be the moment where striving stops and stillness begins. Pope Leo the Cavalier once wrote, "The soul that refuses to rush becomes a sanctuary for divine wisdom." This isn't a pause to catch your breath before you run again. This is the path, the rhythm, the way. Jesus himself rose early, not to plan, but to pray, not to strategize, but to stay connected to his Father. If even he began from rest, why would we think we must begin from prayer? Morning prayer is not the break between doing and doing more. It is the beginning of becoming a person carried by peace, not crushed by pressure. You don't need to outrun your fears today. You only need to outweight them in the presence of the one who goes before you. Where have I taken on pressure to fix what only God can redeem? Can I accept that I'm not the answer and let Jesus be enough? What would change if I lived today from a place of being carried, not controlling? What if rest is not what I earn, but what I'm entrusted with? Am I willing to begin this day by receiving peace instead of chasing performance? Where might God be inviting me to slow down, not to fall behind, but to fall deeper into his care? He will rescue you. He will cover you. You will not fear. Psalm 91, 3-5. My power is made perfect in weakness. Amen. Psalm 12, verse 9. The Lord is my shepherd, I lack nothing. Psalm 23, 1. He makes me lie down in green pastures. Psalm 23, 2. Under his wings you will find refuge. Psalm 91, 4. Come to me, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11, 28. If this morning prayer released you from the lie that you must be everything to everyone, or reminded you that rest is not failure but faith, share it with someone carrying too much. Let them know Jesus is the answer. God's message today isn't do more, it's rest in me. And that truth is enough to carry us all. There is a quiet but relentless voice that creeps into your soul in the early hours, telling you that unless you produce, you don't matter, that unless you push harder, you'll fall behind. It disguises itself as ambition, but its root is fear, and its fruit is exhaustion. But God's message today dismantles that inner tyranny with a holy reminder. You are not what you do. You are who I love. This morning, let meditation become the sacred act of reclaiming your identity from a world obsessed with achievement. Psalm 91 doesn't begin with activity. It begins with abiding. He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. You don't dwell by doing. You dwell by being. You don't have to rise with plans already formed. You only need to rise with presence already known. Divine power is not a tool for productivity. It is the breath of intimacy with a God who defines you by grace. Morning prayer isn't an escape from your responsibilities. It's the realignment of your spirit before you touch them. It's a reminder that your soul isn't nourished by applause, but by truth. Lisa Bevere teaches, when you know who you are in Christ, you stop trying to earn what's already yours. You are already loved, already chosen, already equipped, not because of your resume, but because of your relationship. That truth changes how you enter the day. You no longer perform for peace. You protect it. You don't chase your calling. You carry it. You walk not under the weight of expectation, but under the wings of Psalm 91. He will cover you with his feathers. His faithfulness will be your shield and rampart. That covering gives you freedom. Freedom to show up as a whole person, not a curated version. Freedom to fail without shame. Freedom to rest without guilt. That is what divine power makes possible. Let today be the day you choose truth over tension, not because everything is figured out, but because you've remembered that the God who goes before you is also the God who carries you. Pope Leo the Caprior once wrote, "The most productive soul is the one most yielded in stillness. Your value doesn't rise and fall with what you check off a list. Your worth was nailed to a cross and sealed in resurrection. So breathe deep, receive that love, and let your to-do list follow, not lead, your sense of divine identity." Morning prayer becomes your sacred defiance against the lie that your worth is tied to your output. Divine power is never rushed. It doesn't arrive when you cross a finish line. It meets you while you are seated, surrendered, listening. Psalm 23 does not begin with a checklist. It begins with an invitation. He makes me lie down in green pasture. Not asks, not suggests, makes. Because sometimes we are too caught up in the rhythm of proving ourselves to choose rest willingly, and so He, in His mercy, interrupts us with peace. That interruption is not inconvenience, it is intimacy. Meditation becomes the holy rebellion against spiritual burnout. It's not for monks in silence, it's for you, in your kitchen, your car, your chaos. Rest is not what we do when we're done, it's how we begin. This kind of rest is not about sleeping in or avoiding responsibility. It's about returning to the truth that your identity is rooted in God's love, not your success. Morning prayer anchors you before the world begins to pull. You enter your day from a place of abundance, not scarcity. From divine covering, not human pressure. From trust, not tension. Psalm 91 echoes this safety. He will cover you with His feathers, and under His wings you will find refuge. This isn't just a metaphor. It is the spiritual reality you are invited to live into. You do not have to hustle for heaven's attention. You already have it. So slow your breath. Let this be the moment where striving stops and stillness begins. Pause and reflect with me now. Where have I tied my value to my performance? Can I start today with identity instead of anxiety? What would shift if I believed God's message more than the world's metrics? What if rest is not something I earn, but something I've been entrusted with? Am I willing to begin this day by receiving peace instead of chasing performance? Where might God be inviting me to slow down, not to fall behind, but to fall deeper into His care? Now let these scriptural affirmations guide your heart. One who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. Psalm 91:1. His faithfulness will be your shield and rampart. Psalm 91:4. The Lord is my shepherd, I lack nothing. Psalm 23:1. Makes me lie down in green pastures. Psalm 23:2. Under His wings you will find refuge. Psalm 91:4. Come to me and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28. If this morning prayer reminded you that your worth is rooted in grace, not grind, share it with someone who's waking up to pressure instead of peace. Let them know God's message today isn't about chasing identity, it's about resting in it, and that rest is sacred. Some mornings feel like a blur of resistance and resolve, the resistance of fatigue, of fear, of not knowing how things will unfold, and the fragile resolve to still get up and try. In that space between hesitation and hope, God's message today enters like a sunrise through the fog. You are covered in grace. Step into my power. Divine power isn't something you must reach for. It is the ground beneath your feet, the breath in your lungs, the covering over your mind. You are not entering this day alone, unarmed or unworthy. You are wrapped in the fullness of a love that does not fade with your failures. Psalm 91 was written for this very moment. He will command His angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways. Not some of them, all. That includes the awkward conversations ahead, the quiet battles no one sees, and the choices you're unsure how to make. All of your ways covered, guarded, graced. Morning prayer isn't the warm-up, it is the wardrobe. It's where you are clothed in truth before stepping into the unknown. Meditation isn't just mental hygiene, it is holy preparation. It's the recalibration of your internal compass back to true north, Jesus. The shepherd who walks with you, the Savior who stands for you, the King who rules through peace. Psalm 23 doesn't promise an easy path. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. That's the divine power you carry, not a power that avoids valleys, but a peace that transforms them. Dr. Anita Phillips teaches, the soul that enters the day in awareness of God's presence will carry a calm that no chaos can touch. That calm is not weak, it is your warfare. That awareness is not passive, it is the posture of the powerful. And that power is your inheritance, not because you've performed, but because you've paused in His presence. So now, take one more breath. not to center yourself, but to anchor yourself in the reality that God has already gone before you. Pope Leo the Catholic wrote, "Every day begun in surrender becomes a day wrapped in supernatural strength." That's where you are now. Not empty, not overlooked, not ill-equipped. You are covered. You are empowered. And as you rise, you do so not with self-reliance, but with sacred reliance. Divine power walks with you into your job, your family, your fatigue, your fears. You step forward not because you know the outcome, but because you know the one who holds it. Morning prayer becomes your sacred defiance against the lie that your worth is tied to your output. Divine power is never rushed. It doesn't arrive when you cross a finish line. It meets you while you are seated, surrendered, listening. Psalm 23 does not begin with a checklist. It begins with an invitation. He makes me lie down in green pastures, not asks, not suggests, makes. Because sometimes we are too caught up in the rhythm of proving ourselves to choose rest willingly, and so He, in His mercy, interrupts us with peace. That interruption is not inconvenience, it is intimacy. Meditation becomes the holy rebellion against spiritual burnout. It's not for monks in silence, it's for you, in your kitchen, your car, your chaos. Lisa Bevere says, "Rest is not what we do when we're done. It's how we begin." This kind of rest is not about sleeping in or avoiding responsibility. It's about returning to the truth that your identity is rooted in God's love, not your success. Morning prayer anchors you before the world begins to pull. You enter your day from a place of abundance, not scarcity. From divine covering, not human pressure. From trust, not tension. Psalm 91 echoes this safety. He will cover you with His feathers, and under His wings you will find refuge. This isn't just a metaphor. It is the spiritual reality you are invited to live into. You do not have to hustle for heaven's attention. You already have it, so slow your breath. Let this be the moment where striving stops and stillness begins. Pause and reflect. Let these questions guide your heart. Am I stepping into this day covered in grace or clothed in pressure? Can I trust that God's divine power guards not only my path, but also my peace? What does it look like to walk in awareness that I am already accompanied? Where have I tied my value to my performance? Can I start today with identity instead of anxiety? What would shift if I believed God's message more than the world's metrics? What if rest is not something I earn, but something I'm entrusted with? Am I willing to begin this day by receiving peace instead of chasing performance? Where might God be inviting me to slow down, not to fall behind, but to fall deeper into His care? Now receive these scriptural affirmations for today. Will command His angels concerning you, to guard you in all your ways. Psalm 91:11. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, you are with me. Psalm 23:4. My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. 2 Corinthians 12:9. Who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. Psalm 91:1. His faithfulness will be your shield and rampart. Psalm 91:4. The Lord is my shepherd, I lack nothing. Psalm 23:1. Makes me lie down in green pastures. Psalm 23:2. Under His wings you will find refuge. Psalm 91:4. Come to me and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28. If this morning prayer reminded you that you are already covered, already loved, and already led, share it with someone stepping into their own unknowns. Let them know God's message today is clear. You're not walking into this day alone. You are walking in divine power.